Enter at your own risk. Tonight we walk through blood-stained corridors of history's most chilling truths. The morning of July 15, 2025, was gray and damp in a run-down neighborhood on the edge of the city. In a cramped apartment on the third floor of a crumbling brick building, 63-year-old Harold Grayson lived alone, his walls covered in faded photos of his family. His son, Tommy, 28, had been in and out of trouble for years, mostly small thefts and drug charges. Harold, a retired mechanic with a bad back, tried to keep Tommy on track, letting him crash at the apartment when things got rough. That day, Tommy called his dad at 8 a.m., his voice shaky. "I messed up, Dad. Real bad. I'm at the old place on 4th Street. Harold, heart pounding, grabbed his coat and drove his rusty pickup to the address, a derelict house known for trouble, broken windows, graffiti, and junkies hanging around. Inside, the air was thick with a sour smell. Harold pushed open the creaky door to a back room, froze. Tommy sat slumped on a stained mattress, his face pale, eyes glassy, a half-empty bottle of soda by his side. Nearby, Tommy's friend, 22-year-old Ethan Carter, lay tied to a chair, blood seeping from his chest, his head lolled to one side. Beside him, Ethan's 9-year-old niece, Lily Carter, was on the floor, her small body still, wrists bound with rope, blood pooling under her. Harold's knees buckled. He called 911 at 8:17 a.m., his voice breaking as he told the dispatcher, "My son's dead. There's others too. Please hurry." Police and paramedics from the city's 12th precinct arrived within 10 minutes, sirens cutting through the morning fog. Wide, officers found a grim scene. Tommy had no pulse, his lips blue, foam at the corners of his mouth. Ethan and Lily were gone too, stab wounds on their chests, ropes tight around their wrists. A paramedic, Sarah Ruiz, tried CPR on Lily, but stopped, tears in her eyes, saying, "She's been gone a while." The room held clues, a knife on the floor, its blade crusted with blood, and a plate of half-eaten takeout chicken wings. The sauce smelling off. Detective Maria Lopez, leading the case, noticed a strange chemical odor, later identified as cyanide. The coroner's report, filed 2 days later, confirmed Tommy died from cyanide poisoning, likely from the soap. Ethan and Lily had cyanide in their systems too, but stab wounds, 3 to Ethan's chest, 2 to Lily's, were the cause of death. Lopez, a 15-year veteran, told her partner, "This wasn't random. Someone planned this." Harold, shaking in the precinct's interview room, swore he only found the bodies. "Tommy called me, said he did something bad. I didn't know what I'd see," he told Lopez, his hands trembling. But his story didn't add up. A neighbor, Carla Evans, said she, saw Harold at the house the day before, meeting Ethan and Lily at the curb, ushering them inside. Security footage from a nearby bodega showed Harold buying takeout and a soda bottle on July 14 at 6 p.m. Lopez pressed him, "Why were you there yesterday?" Harold claimed he was checking on Tommy, but his eyes darted away. By July 17th, police searched Harold's apartment, finding a small vial of cyanide powder hidden in a toolbox, along with receipts for chemical purchases from an online supplier. A lab tech confirmed the cyanide matched traces in the soda and food. The investigation took a darker turn. In the derelict house, Police found a locked box under the mattress with several unmarked VHS tapes. Lopez's team viewed them at the precinct, their faces grim. The tapes showed disturbing acts involving Lily, filmed in that same room. Ethan was in some, giving orders, while another man, later identified as Harold, appeared briefly, adjusting a camera. "This is sick," Officer James Tran whispered, turning away. The tape suggested a pattern, possibly involving others, but no clear network emerged. Lily's parents, Mark and Emily Carter, were devastated but silent, avoiding media. A family friend told the City Times they were broken and unaware of Ethan's actions. Lopez suspected Ethan brought Lily to the house regularly, with Harold's help, though the motive for filming wasn't clear. Maybe blackmail or personal gain. Harold's role unraveled fast. On July 18th, a witness, a homeless man named Ray, told police he saw Harold at the house multiple times in June, always with Ethan and sometimes Lily. Ray said Harold seemed in charge, telling Ethan where to park. Phone records showed Harold and Ethan texted often, including a message from Harold on July 14th. "Bring her tonight. Food's ready." Lopez theorized Harold poisoned the takeout and soda, expecting a quick death. But when Ethan and Lily didn't die fast enough, he tied them up and stabbed them. Tommy, caught in the crossfire, drank the poisoned soda too. "Why kill your own son?" Lopez asked Harold in a second interview. He sobbed. "I didn't mean for Tommy to eat it. I just wanted Ethan gone." He claimed Ethan was dragging Tommy into trouble, maybe drugs or worse, and he wanted to stop it. "Lily wasn't supposed to be there," he added, voice hollow. Harold was arrested on July 20th, charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and evidence tampering. The city was stunned. The neighborhood, already rough, felt cursed. "An old man doing this? It's evil," Carla Evans told Channel 7 News. At Harold's arraignment on July 22nd, prosecutor Lena Harris called it a calculated betrayal, saying Harold used his trust as a father to lure victims. The defense, led by public defender Greg Mills, argued Harold, was protecting Tommy, claiming Ethan was a bad influence who corrupted the family. Mills admitted the cyanide, but said the stabbings were a panic response when the poison took too long. The judge, Patricia Cole, denied bail, citing the case's brutality. "No one's safe if he's out," she said. She said the trial began October 10, 2025, in the city's Superior Court. Harris laid out the evidence, the cyanide vial, bodega footage, and Harold's texts. Amy Pato testified the cyanide dose was enough to kill within 20 minutes, but Ethan and Lily survived longer, likely triggering Harold's rage. The knife, found with Harold's fingerprints, matched the wounds. The tapes, too graphic for court, were described by Lopez, who said they showed Harold's complicity. He wasn't just a bystander, she testified. Mills called a psychiatrist, Dr. Robert Klein, who said Harold had undiagnosed paranoia, believing Ethan was destroying Tommy. Harold took the stand, crying, "I loved my son. I didn't want this." But jurors, seeing the tape's impact on Lopez's face, weren't swayed. On October 25th, after 6 hours, they convicted Harold of all charges. On November 5th, Judge Cole sentenced him to life without parole, calling it a monstrous act. Lily's aunt, Sarah Carter, spoke sobbing. She was just a kid. He stole her light. The neighborhood struggled to heal. The house on 4th Street was boarded up. Kids avoiding it, whispering it was haunted. A small memorial for Lily. Teddy bears and flowers grew outside, though her parents stayed private. Tommy's friends left candles, one writing, "You didn't deserve this, man." Harold's sister, Ellen Grayson, told the City Times he was a good dad once. I don't know what broke him. Police probed deeper, chasing leads on the tapes, but no wider ring was confirmed. By August 2025, the community demanded answers. How did no one notice Lily's visits? A social worker, Maria Gaines, admitted to local News 12 that child services missed red flags about Ethan's home. The case left scars, a reminder that trust can hide darkness in plain sight. As one tale fades, another killer waits in the shadows. The night of April 7, 2003, was still in Rock Hill, South Carolina, a quiet town of tidy lawns and brick homes. Troy French, 48, and LaDonna French, 46, were asleep in their two-story house on Cedar Grove Lane, a well-kept street in a middle-class neighborhood. Troy, a high school math teacher, was known for his dry humor and coaching the girls' softball team. LaDonna, a nurse at Piedmont Medical Center, loved gardening, her rose bushes the envy of neighbors. Their daughter Jessica, 17, a senior at Rock Hill High, was in her room upstairs, texting her boyfriend, Brandon Miller, 19, a lanky mechanic's apprentice her parents didn't trust. They thought Brandon, with his loud truck and spotty job record, was trouble, often arguing with Jessica about him. At 2:14 a.m., Jessica's voice cracked over a 911 call. "Someone's in the house. My parents. They're not moving. They're not moving. Please come." Her sobs filled the line as dispatcher Karen Holt kept her calm until police arrived. Rock Hill police stormed the French home at 2:22 a.m., flashlights cutting through the dark. In the master bedroom, Troy lay face down on the carpet, blood pooling from 2 gunshot wounds to his back, a .38 caliber revolver on the floor. LaDonna was slumped against the headboard, a single bullet through her chest, her nightgown stained red. Both were cold, dead for at least an hour. Jessica, in pajamas, sat on the living room couch, unharmed, her face streaked with tears. "I heard bangs and hid in my closet," she told Officer Mike Brady, her hands shaking. The house showed no forced entry, no broken windows, no jimmied locks. A back door was ajar, leading to a wooded lot behind the property. Neighbors, woken by sirens, told police they heard muffled pops around 1 a.m., but thought it was a car backfiring. Jessica's story held. She'd been asleep, woken by noises and called 911 after finding her parents. Detectives, led by Sergeant John Harper, scoured the scene. The revolver, wiped clean of prints, wasn't registered to the Frenches. Shell castings by the bed confirmed 3 shots, matching the wounds. A muddy footprint, size 10, was found near the back door, but rain from earlier blurred its tread. Jessica mentioned Brandon, saying he'd texted her at 11 p.m., but wasn't there that night. Harper questioned Brandon at his trailer the next morning. "I was home, asleep," Brandon said, showing his phone with no calls after 11:30 p.m. His boots, size 12, didn't match the print, with no signs of robbery, cash and jewelry untouched. Harper suspected someone close. Jessica, the only survivor, drew scrutiny, but her clean hands tested negative for gunshot residue, and her 911 call sounded genuine. "She's traumatized," a paramedic told Harper, noting her shock. The town buzzed with grief and fear. Troy and LaDonna were churchgoers, active at First Baptist, their deaths unthinkable. A memorial at Rock Hill High drew 300 people, students leaving notes for Troy, who'd taught them algebra with patience. LaDonna's co-workers at the hospital set up a fund for Jessica, now living with her aunt, Susan Holt. Suspicion lingered on Jessica and Brandon. Her parents hated him. A neighbor, Ellen Price, told the Herald. They fought about him all the time, but with no hard evidence. No DNA, no witnesses. The case stalled. Jessica graduated high school in May 2003, leaning on Brandon for support. By 2004, they married in a small courthouse ceremony, moving to a nearby apartment. Some whispered Jessica knew more, but Harper had nothing to charge her with. The case went cold. The French's killer, a ghost. Years passed. Jessica and Brandon built a life, having 2 kids by 2010. Jessica became a dental hygienist, Brandon a mechanic at a Ford dealership. The French house was sold, the new owners painting over the bedroom's bloodstains. In 2018, a cold case unit, led by Detective Lisa Moreno, reopened the file. DNA tech had improved, and Moreno sent the revolver, casings, and a single hair found on LaDonna's nightgown to a state lab. The hair, missed in 2003, held a partial DNA profile. Not enough for a match, but enough to exclude Jessica and Brandon. A break came in 2022 when a national database hit on the DNA. It matched Ryan Miller, 37, Brandon's older brother, serving time in Georgia for armed robbery. Ryan, a drifter with a rap sheet for burglary and assault, had lived in Rock Hill in 2003, crashing at Brandon's trailer. Moreno dug into Ryan's past. In 2002, he'd worked briefly as a janitor at Rock Hill High, where he met Troy once at a softball game. Neighbors recalled Ryan lurking near Cedar Grove Lane, drawn to the French's comfortable life. Nice house, new SUV, LaDonna's garden. A former friend, Jake Ellis, told police Ryan was obsessed, saying the French's had everything he wanted. Cell tower data, re-examined in 2023, placed Ryan's phone near the French home on April 6, 2003, at 10 p.m. Moreno's team found a 2019 prison letter where Ryan bragged to a cellmate about sneaking into a big house for months to steal small items, watches, cash, a spare key. He got off on being invisible, Ellis said. Detectives theorized Ryan entered through the back door that night, using the stolen key, planning to grab valuables while the family slept. On April 7, something went wrong. Moreno believed Troy, a light sleeper, heard Ryan rummaging and confronted him in the hallway. Ryan, carrying a stolen .38 revolver, shot Troy twice in the back. LaDonna, woken by the noise, screamed, and Ryan shot her once, the bullet piercing her heart. Jessica, in her room, likely heard the shots and hid, as she'd said. Ryan fled out the back, dropping the gun in panic, his footprint left in the mud. The motive wasn't personal. He didn't know the French's well, but a botched burglary turned deadly when they blocked his exit. He was cornered, Moreno told the state in 2024. He shot to escape. Ryan's obsession with their lifestyle explained his months of break-ins, but the killings were impulsive, not planned. Ryan was arrested in Georgia on March 10th. Jessica, now 37, was stunned, telling Fox Carolina, "I never thought it was his brother." She and Brandon, still married, cooperated fully, their alibis from 2003 holding up. Ryan's trial began January 15, 2025, in York County Courthouse. Prosecutor David Chen showed the jury the DNA match, the hair, and Ryan's letter. A ballistics expert, Dr. Paul Greer, confirmed the revolver's bullets matched the casings. Moreno testified about Ryan's phone data and Ellis's statement, painting him as a jealous drifter. Ryan's defense, led by Amy Porter, argued he was framed, claiming the DNA was contaminated and the letter vague. Ryan, gaunt in an orange jumpsuit, didn't testify, staring blankly as Jessica wept in the gallery, clutching a photo of her parents. On January 30th, 2025, the jury convicted Ryan after 5 hours, finding him guilty of 2 counts of murder and burglary. On February 7th, Judge Emily Waters sentenced him to life without parole, calling his actions cowardly and cruel. Jessica spoke, her voice breaking, "You took my mom and dad. I'll never forgive you." The courtroom was silent as Ryan was led away, his head down. Rock Hill exhaled, but the pain lingered. The French home, now owned by a young family, stood as a quiet reminder. A memorial plaque for Troy and LaDonna was added to Rock Hill High's softball field, where students still talk about Coach French. Jessica, raising her kids, visits their graves weekly, leaving roses from her mom's garden. The case, solved after 22 years, closed a chapter, but the town still whispers about the killer who hid in plain sight. As one tale fades, another killer waits in the shadows. The night of October 15, 2004, was cool and foggy in Napa, California, a city known for its vineyards and quiet charm. Adrienne Allen, 26, shared a 2-story townhouse at 2345 Dorset Street with her best friend, Lauren Manza, 26, and their roommate Leslie Mazzara, 26. The trio, close since meeting at Napa Valley College, had spent the evening passing out Halloween candy to kids in their cozy neighborhood. Adrienne, a tall, athletic woman with long dark hair and a bright smile, worked as a dental assistant and loved hiking in Napa's hills. She wore a gray sweatshirt and pajama pants, her feet bare as she laughed with Lauren on the couch, watching a scary movie. Leslie, a former beauty queen turned winery marketer, had gone upstairs to bed early, her room overlooking the backyard. Around 1 a.m., Lauren said goodnight, heading to her downstairs bedroom. Adrienne climbed the stairs to her room next to Leslie's, leaving the sliding glass door to the backyard unlocked, a habit in their safe neighborhood. At 1:30 a.m., a faint creak woke Lauren. She thought it was the house settling, but then came a scream, Adrienne's voice, sharp and terrified, from upstairs. Lauren froze, heart racing as footsteps thudded above. Another scream, Leslie's this time, cut off by a heavy thump. Lauren bolted to her bedroom door, locking it, and dialed 911 at 1:34 a.m., whispering to the dispatcher, "Someone's in the house." I hear screams. Napa police arrived at 1:42 a.m., their flashlights sweeping the dark townhouse. In the upstairs hallway, they found Adrienne and Leslie sprawled in blood, each stabbed multiple times. Adrienne 12 times in her chest and neck, Leslie 17 times across her torso and arms. Blood trailed down the stairs, pooling on the landing. The back door was ajar, a muddy footprint, size 11, near the threshold. Lauren, unharmed, sobbed in her room, telling Officer David Blake, "I hid. I didn't know what to do." Detectives, led by Sergeant Rick Marshall, processed the scene. As the murder weapon, a 10-inch kitchen knife, was missing, but blood patterns suggested a frenzied attack. Adrienne's body was near her bedroom door, her hands raised, defensive wounds on her palm. Leslie was in the hallway, a broken wine glass near her, suggesting she'd fought back. No signs of robbery. Wallets, jewelry, and laptops were untouched. The footprint from a common work boot offered little. Marshall interviewed Lauren, who said Adrienne had no enemies but mentioned her ex-boyfriend, Eric Koppel, 25, a winery worker with a temper. Adrienne had dated him for a year, breaking up in August 2004 after he got jealous at a party. He'd call her, begging to get back together. Lauren told Dateline later. Koppel, questioned on October 16, seemed nervous, his hands shaky, but his alibi. He was home with his fiancée, Lily Prudhomme, held. His boots, size 10, didn't match the print. Napa, a tight-knit town of 70,000, was shaken. The Napa Valley Register ran headlines, "Double Murder Rocks Community," and residents locked doors, some buying guns. A vigil at Napa Valley College drew 500 people. Adrienne's hiking boots and Leslie's pageant sash placed on a makeshift altar. Lauren moved out, unable to sleep in the blood-stained house. Marshall's team chased leads. A vagrant seen near Dorset Street, a co-worker Leslie argued with, but nothing stuck. DNA from a cigarette butt in the backyard, stained with Adrienne's blood, was sent to a state lab. It didn't match Koppel or anyone in CODIS, the national DNA database. By December 2004, tips dried up, the case growing cold. Adrienne's mom, Arlene Allen, told ABC News, "She was my life. Someone knows who did this." Leslie's family, from South Carolina, offered a $10,000 reward, but no one came forward. Months turned to years. Lauren, haunted, relocated to San Francisco, working as a teacher. The Dorset Street house was sold, its new owners scrubbing the floors clean. In September 2005, a break came unexpectedly. Eric Koppel, now 27, walked into the Napa police station, his face pale, and confessed. "I killed them," he said, voice flat, handing over a typed letter. In it, he described sneaking into the townhouse through the unlocked back door, carrying a knife from his kitchen. He'd been drinking, obsessed with Adrienne since their breakup, stalking her for weeks. That night, he said, he wanted to see her one last time. When Adrienne screamed, he panicked, stabbing her repeatedly. Leslie, woken by the noise, ran into the hallway, and he attacked her too, slashing wildly. "I didn't mean to kill Leslie," he wrote. He fled, tossing the knife in a vineyard, burning his clothes in his backyard. The cigarette butt was his, dropped as he smoked outside, watching the house. Koppel's motive was murky. He told detectives he was depressed, drinking heavily, and jealous of Adrienne's new life without him. His fiancée, Lily, whom he married in 2005, was stunned. unaware of his fixation. He seemed normal, she told the San Francisco Chronicle. Koppel's DNA, taken after his confession, matched the cigarette butt. The footprint, a red herring, likely came from a neighbor's yard work. Marshall's team found Koppel's burned clothes in a barrel at his home, fibers matching Adrienne's sweatshirt. A search of his laptop revealed late-night Google searches in August 2004. How to break into a house and knife wounds. Koppel, a loner with no prior record, had hidden his rage behind a quiet demeanor. His winery co-workers calling him polite but distant. The trial began March 20th, 2006, in Napa County Superior Court. Prosecutor Janice Knight laid out Koppel's obsession, showing the jury his letter, the DNA match, and photos of the bloody hallway. He hunted Adrienne like prey, Knight said. Adrienne's wounds, deep and precise, showed intent, while Leslie suggested a desperate fight. Koppel's defense, led by Robert Waller, argued diminished capacity, citing his alcoholism and undiagnosed depression. A psychiatrist, Dr. Ellen Chang, testified Koppel had borderline personality traits, acting impulsively under stress. Koppel, in a gray suit, stared at the floor, never testifying. Arlene Allen, sobbing, told the jury Adrienne trusted him once. He betrayed her, Leslie's sister. Nicole Mazzara said Leslie died trying to save her friend. On April 10, 2006, Koppel pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder to avoid a death penalty trial. On May 15, Judge Raymond Guadagni sentenced him to life without parole, calling the murders brutal and senseless. Koppel, voice barely audible, said, "I'm sorry for the pain I caused." Napa struggled to move on. Napa struggled to move on. The townhouse, repainted, housed new tenants by 2007, but neighbors avoided it, whispering about ghosts. A memorial bench for Adrienne and Leslie was placed at Alston Park, where Adrienne hiked, inscribed with "Forever Friends." Arlene, a retired teacher, started a scholarship in Adrienne's name, raising $5,000 yearly for dental students. Leslie's family held vigils in South Carolina, her pageant crown displayed at their church. Koppel, now 46, is at Mule Creek State Prison, working as a janitor, his appeals denied in 2010-18. Lauren, in a 2014 People interview, said, "I see them in my dreams, laughing. I wish I'd heard more that night." Napa's vineyards still draw tourists, but Dorset Street carries a quiet weight, a reminder of a night when trust turned deadly. As one tale fades, another killer waits in the shadows. The evening of March 3rd, 2021, was chilly and damp in South London, the streets of Clapham quiet under a gray sky. Sarah Everard, 33, a marketing executive with a bright smile and dark blonde hair, left her friend's house on Leithwaite Road at 9 p.m. She wore a green raincoat, navy trousers, and white trainers, her phone pressed to her ear as she chatted with her boyfriend, Josh Love, during her 2.5-mile walk home to Brixton. Sarah, known for her kindness and sharp wit, had spent the evening laughing over wine, catching up after months of COVID lockdowns. The call with Josh lasted 14 minutes, ending at 9:15 p.m. As she neared Clapham Common, a large park lined with Victorian homes, streetlights flickered, and the path along Pointers Road was empty, save for a few dog walkers. Sarah's last text to Josh, sent at 9:23 p.m., Read, almost home, love you. She never arrived. At 9:34 p.m., a grainy CCTV camera on Pointers Road captured Sarah standing at a bus stop, checking her phone. A white Vauxhall Astra pulled up, driven by Wayne Cousins, 48, a Metropolitan Police officer with the Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Unit. Cousins, in plain clothes, jeans, a gray hoodie, no badge, flashed a warrant card, claiming Sarah was breaking COVID curfew rules. Confused but trusting, Sarah got into the car, thinking it was a routine check. The Astra sped off toward Kent, 80 miles away. Cousins, a married father of two, had been planning this. He'd patrolled Clapham Common for weeks, using his police status to scout lone women. At 11:43 p.m., his car stopped in a wooded area near Ashford, Kent, off the M20 motorway. There, in a rented field, Cousins handcuffed Sarah, assaulted her, and strangled her with his police belt. Her body, burned to destroy evidence, was dumped in a builder's bag in a nearby pond, her phone and wallet tossed into a ditch. Sarah's disappearance sparked panic. Josh, worried by 10 p.m., called her phone. Getting no answer, he contacted Kate and David Everard, Sarah's parents in York. By midnight, they reported her missing to the Met Police. On March 4th, officers canvassed Clapham, posting flyers with Sarah's photo, smiling, her hair in a messy bun. Friends and neighbors joined searches, combing Clapham Commons paths. The Evening Standard ran her story, and #FindSarah trended on X. CCTV footage, released March 5, showed Sarah with a man at the bus stop, but his face was blurry. Police initially treated it as a missing person case, not suspecting foul play. Kate Everard told BBC News, "She's not the type to vanish. Something's wrong." By March 7, the case was upgraded to high risk, with Scotland Yard's Major Crime Unit taking over. Detective Chief Inspector Catherine Goodwin led the investigation. On March 8, automatic number plate recognition cameras traced the Astra to Cousins, a Met officer since 2018. His personnel file showed a clean record, though colleagues later admitted he had a temper and nicknamed him the rapist for crude comments, per a 2021 Guardian report. Goodwin's team searched his Kent home on March 9th, finding handcuffs, a police belt, and receipts for a builder's bag bought days earlier. Cousins, off duty, was arrested at 7:50 p.m. His wife, Elena, stunned as officers cuffed him in their living room. "What's this about?" she asked. Cousins stayed silent. On March 10th, Devers found Sarah's body in the pond. Charred remains confirming her identity through dental records. An autopsy revealed strangulation with burns post-mortem. Her green raincoat, torn and singed, was recovered nearby. Cousins' double life unraveled. Born in Dover, 1972, he joined the Met after stints as a mechanic and territorial Army volunteer. He carried a Glock 17 on duty, guarding embassies, but off duty, he frequented Clapham's bars, eyeing women. A 2015 indecent exposure complaint and a 2019 groping report were ignored by the Met, later called missed red flags in a 2023 inquiry. Phone data showed Cousins in Clapham on February 28, flashing his badge at a lone woman who fled. His laptop, seized March 10, had searches for Rape Laws UK and how to dispose of a body. A co-worker told the Times he was quiet. but you felt his anger. Cousins confessed on March 11th. Cousins confessed on March 11th, admitting he targeted Sarah for her vulnerability. He claimed he was in debt to traffickers, a lie debunked by police finding no payments. The trial began July 9, 2021, at the Old Bailey. Cousins, balding and stocky, pleaded guilty to kidnapping, rape, and murder, his head bowed. Prosecutor Tom Little KC described the planned, predatory act, showing CCTV of Sarah entering the Astra, her face trusting. The builder's bag receipt, dated March 1, proved premeditation. Sarah's family gave statements. Kate sobbed. "She was my baby, full of life," Josh said. "I walk Clapham now, seeing her everywhere." The defense, led by Jim Sturman, claimed Cousins was suicidal, citing a jail note. "I deserve this." On September 30th, 2021, Judge Adrian Fulford sentenced him to a whole life order, rare for non-serial killers, calling it grotesque. "You abused your authority," Fulford said. Cousins, impassive, was led to Belmarsh Prison, where he remains isolated for his safety. London erupted in grief and rage. On March 13th, a Clapham Common vigil drew thousands, women chanting, "We are Sarah." Police clashed with mourners, arresting 4 for breaching COVID rules, sparking outrage. The Independent reported 700 complaints against the Met's heavy-handed response. The case exposed systemic issues. A 2023 Baroness Casey review found the Met institutionally sexist, noting Cousins' unchecked behavior. Sarah's Law, passed in 2022, lets women check police records for partners' histories. Clapham installed new streetlights, and a Sarah Everard Trust funds women's safety programs, raising £500,000 sterling by 2025. Kate and David, in a 2024 BBC interview, said, "We live for her memory. Brixton streets, once Sarah's home, carry her name in murals, a reminder of trust betrayed by a badge. As one tale fades, another killer waits in the shadows. As one tale fades, another killer waits in the shadow." The night of January 5th, 2023, was cold in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the kind of winter chill that kept most folks indoors. In a modest 2-story apartment in the St. Thomas Square neighborhood, April Lyda, a single mom, was asleep upstairs, exhausted from her shift at a local diner. Downstairs, her 9-year-old son, Xander Lyda, was curled up on the living room couch. A Fortnite game paused on the TV, his favorite blue blanket draped over him. Xander was a bright kid, always smiling, loved riding his bike and eating tacos. His 12-year-old sister, whose name hasn't been released, was in her room upstairs, a small space with posters of pop stars and a messy desk. She was a typical preteen, quiet at times, struggling with school, and recently back on ADHD medication after a year off. The house was quiet, the only sound the hum of a space heater. Around 11:30 p.m., the girl crept downstairs, her bare feet silent on the carpet. In her hand was a kitchen knife, its blade glinting under the dim glow of a lamp. Xander was asleep, unaware, as she stood over him. Without a word, she plunged the knife into his chest, once, then again. Blood stained his Spider-Man pajama shirt, pooling on the couch. Xander screamed, a sound so piercing it woke April. The girl, panicked, dropped the knife and ran upstairs, throwing it out her second-story window into the snowy yard below. She shook her mom awake, sobbing, "I stabbed Xander. I'm so sorry." April, groggy and confused, stumbled downstairs, thinking it was a nightmare. She saw Xander, blood everywhere, gasping, "She stabbed me." April's screams echoed as she dialed 911 at 11:43 p.m., her hands shaking so hard she dropped the phone twice. Tulsa Police Riverside Division arrived within minutes, red and blue lights flashing across the snow-covered street. Paramedics and firefighters were already there, performing CPR on Xander, his small body limp on the floor. Blood soaked the carpet, and the knife's absence puzzled officers until the girl, trembling in her hoodie, led them to the window and pointed outside. "It's there," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Body cam footage later showed her crying in the back of a patrol car, saying, "I don't know why I did it. I'm so sorry." She told officers, "I ruined my life. I'm going to go to jail forever." April, frantic, kept asking, "Why would she do this?" "She's 12. The paramedics rushed Xander to St. Francis Hospital, where surgeons fought to save him. His heart stopped in the operating room at 2:30 a.m., and he was pronounced dead, his wounds too deep, 3 stabs to the chest, 1 piercing his lung. The girl was taken to the Family Center for Juvenile Justice, her hands cuffed, her face pale. Her face pale. She sat in a small room, still apologizing, as officers tried to piece together what happened. The Tulsa Police Child Crisis Unit took over, their lead investigator, Detective Sarah McCamey, noting the girl's lack of prior violence. April told police Xander and his sister were close, never fighting beyond normal sibling spats. They loved each other, she said, her voice breaking. But 2 weeks earlier, the girl had told friends she had thoughts of stabbing Xander, a detail they didn't share until after the tragedy. They were scared to tell. April later told News Nation. The family's life wasn't easy. April had battled opioid and meth addiction in her teens, and the girl's father, Dustin Cunningham, was in jail for drug trafficking linked to the Universal Aryan Brotherhood. Her stepfather, Levi Lida, had a 2017 arrest for animal cruelty, torturing a cat when the girl was 6. April swore she'd shielded her kids from their chaos, but the home wasn't stable. Investigators dug deeper. The girl had been on ADHD medication for 5 years, but stopped during COVID homeschooling. When she returned to public school, her grades slipped, and doctors put her back on the meds, likely Adderall, though April didn't specify. Soon after, she started cutting herself, small marks on her arms. April took her off the meds again, but the self-harm continued. It was a medication issue, April told Chris Cuomo on News Nation, calling the stabbing a manic episode. She insisted her daughter wasn't mentally ill, just a normal kid going through puberty, but doctors stared. Darcy Sterling, a clinical social worker, doubted the meds alone caused it. "There's more to this," she said on the show, pointing to missing pieces, maybe family stress or undiagnosed issues. The girl's comments to friends about stabbing Xander suggested planning, not a sudden snap. Reddit users on True Crime Discussion speculated she had deeper problems, with one writing, "The mom's in denial, blaming meds instead of facing real issues." The community was stunned. St. Thomas Square, a working-class area with tidy lawns and kids' bikes and driveways, felt unsafe. Neighbors left flowers and a teddy bear outside the apartment, a photo of Xander's big smile taped to a pole. A GoFundMe by friend Jennifer Anthematin raised $5,000 for funeral costs, describing Xander as a boy who loved Sky Zone, chocolate ice cream, and making his mom proud. April wrote on the page, "My son was the sweetest. My daughter loved him." This wasn't her. She slammed the release of body cam footage, calling it inappropriate for showing her daughter's pain. Tulsa Police Chief Wendell Franklin called it the city's second homicide of 2023, tweeting, "How does society address a child killing another child? No charges were filed right away. Oklahoma law bars prosecuting kids under 13 as adults for murder. Instead, the girl was placed in a juvenile facility for treatment, possibly facing charges to ensure she gets help, as Florida prosecutor Dave Arenberg suggested." April grappled with guilt. "I failed them both," she told police, her voice hoarse. She described Xander's scream waking her, thinking it was a nightmare until she saw the blood. The girl in treatment faced years of therapy for grief and guilt. April wanted her home eventually, saying, "She's my daughter." "I love her," but neighbors whispered. Some saw the family's troubles. Others couldn't believe a 12-year-old could kill. The apartment stayed empty, the couch replaced, but the stain lingered in the community's mind. By August 2025, the case was sealed due to the girl's age, with no public updates on her status. Tulsa mourned Xander, his school holding a memorial where classmates shared stories of his love for Fortnite and bike races. The tragedy sparked debates about mental health, medication, and family dynamics, but answers remained elusive. In another town, a different family faced a similar heartbreak, where another killer lurks, plotting in the silence of a new home. The evening of December 27, 1986, was chilly in San Diego County. The sky dark as 20-year-old Kara Knight drove her white 1968 Volkswagen Beetle south on Interstate 15. She'd just left her boyfriend Joey Steiner's house in Escondido, heading to her parents' home in El Cajon, a 30-minute drive. Kara, a junior at San Diego State University, was a bubbly animal lover who volunteered at a local shelter and dreamed of becoming a teacher. Her long brown hair was tied back, and she wore a light jacket over her jeans, singing along to the radio. She'd called her parents, Sam and Joyce Knott, at 8:15 p.m., saying she'd stop for gas at a Chevron station before heading home. The station attendant, Mike Vogan, saw her fill up around 8:30 p.m., her car pulling out onto the freeway. Minutes later, a marked California Highway Patrol car made a sharp U-turn nearby, its lights flashing briefly. Craig Payer, 36, a 13-year veteran of the EHP, was patrolling I-15 that night. A tall man with a buzz cut, he had a reputation as a hard-working officer, often praised for his efficiency. His personnel file noted very good performance, and he'd been trusted with extra duties like acting as officer in charge when sergeants were absent. But there was another side to Payer, one his supervisors ignored. For months, he'd been pulling over young women, always alone, on I-15, directing them to the Mercy Road off-ramp, a dark, unfinished stretch of pavement surrounded by brush. The area was isolated, far from street lights or homes, perfect for privacy and danger. Women later told police Peyer would chat them up, sometimes for 30 minutes or more, asking personal questions, even stroking their hair or shoulders. They felt uneasy, but didn't report it, assuming a cop was safe. 2 complaints had reached the CHP. One from Perry Kurtz about her daughter on November 26, another from Sigurd Ziegler about his wife on December 10, but supervisors dismissed them, citing Peyer's stellar record. Kara, unaware of this, followed Peyer's flashing lights as he signaled her to exit at Mercy Road around 8:45 p.m. The off-ramp led to a dead end near the Los Penasquitos Creek Arch Bridge, a 65-foot drop into a ravine below. Alone with Peyer, Kara parked her Beetle, its headlights cutting through the dark. Peyer approached, his CHP uniform crisp, a flashlight in one hand, a rope coiled in his patrol car's trunk. What started as a routine stop turned sinister. Prosecutors later, said Kara, grew uncomfortable as Peyer's questions became personal, maybe asking about her life or making advances, as he'd done with others. When she threatened to report him, Peyer panicked. He grabbed her, and Kara fought back, scratching his face, her nails leaving marks. Enraged, Peyer swung his heavy flashlight, striking her head. Blood dripped as she staggered. Blood dripped as she staggered. He pulled the rope from his trunk, wrapped it around her neck, and strangled her, her body going limp after minutes of struggle. In a frenzy, he dragged her to the bridge's edge and threw her over, her body landing in the thick brush below, hidden from view. Peyer sped off, his patrol car screeching into a gas station at 9:05 p.m., where attendant Rosa Martinez noticed his disheveled look, sweaty, uniform rumpled, scratches on his face. He claimed he'd fallen against a fence at the CHP lot, but the fence was too high to cause such marks. Back at the off-ramp, Kara's Beetle sat abandoned, keys in the ignition, her purse on the seat. Her parents grew worried when she didn't arrive home by 9:30 p.m. Sam, a reserved man who worked in construction, and Joyce, a devoted mom, knew Kara was reliable. They drove I-15, searching their hearts sinking, searching their hearts sinking. At 2 a.m., Sam spotted the Beetle at Mercy Road, its white paint gleaming under his headlights. "She's gone," he whispered to Joyce, a gut feeling hitting hard. They called police, who found Kara's body at dawn on December 28, 1986. At the ravine's base, her skull fractured, neck bruised with rope marks. The investigation kicked into high gear. On December 29th, KSST TV reporter John Hambrick interviewed Peyer during a ride-along about women's safety on highways. Peyer, calm but with visible facial scratches, gave tips like stay in your car and call for help. Hours after the broadcast, nearly 24 women called police, saying Peyer had pulled them over at Mercy Road, or had pulled them over at Mercy Road. His demeanor creepy, but not violent. Their stories matched: young, alone, late at night, long chats. Detectives, led by Sergeant William Holmes, zeroed in on Peyer. His logbook showed altered times for tickets issued that night, suggesting a cover-up. A gold rayon fiber on Kara's dress matched the yellow shoulder patch on Peyer's uniform, a rare pigment, not a dye. A drop of blood on her boot matched Peyer's rare AB-negative blood type, shared by only 1% of people. Tire tracks at the bridge showed a hasty exit, and a rope in Peyer's patrol car bore marks like those on Kara's neck, though forensic dentist Norman Sperber was barred from testifying due to legal issues. Payer was arrested on January 29, 1987, charged with first-degree murder. The community was stunned. A cop, meant to protect, was a predator. El Cajon, a quiet suburb, buzzed with fear. Women stopped driving alone at night, some refusing police pullovers. The first trial, starting January 1988, gripped San Diego. Prosecutor Paul Finks laid out Payer's pattern, targeting women like Kara, all young brunette, petite. Witnesses, including Donna Ziegler and Perry Kurtz's daughter, described Payer's odd behavior, long stops, personal questions. The gold fiber, blood, and scratches were damning, but Payer's defense, led by Robert Grimes, claimed the scratches came from a fence and suggested another suspect, a drifter seen near I-15. The jury split 7-5 for conviction, ending in a hung jury on March 3, 1988. The retrial, starting in June 1988, excluded the drifter theory and hearsay about the scratches. Finks hammered the evidence, the fiber, blood, and Payer's lie about the fence. On June 22, 1988, the jury convicted Payer of first-degree murder after 6 hours. On August 4, Judge Richard Huffman sentenced him to 25 years to life, tears in his eyes as he spoke of the Knott family's pain. A badge isn't a shield for murder, he said. The knots were shattered. The knots were shattered. Sam, Joyce, and their daughters, Cynthia and Cheryl, built a memorial garden near the bridge, planting flowers where Kara died. Sam, haunted, died of a heart attack there in 2,000 steps from the spot at 61. He never recovered, Cynthia told CBS 8. Payer, now 75, is at California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo, working as an electrician for $52 a month. He's been denied parole in 2004, 2008, and 2012, refusing DNA tests and showing no remorse. His next hearing is in 27. The case changed KHP policy. Solo drivers can now request to pull over in safer, populated areas. Kara's sister Cynthia, in a 2022 NBC San Diego interview, vowed to keep fighting parole, saying, "He betrayed us all." The garden, now called Kara Knott Memorial Bridge, stands as a quiet tribute, its flowers blooming despite the tragedy. Far away, another betrayal unfolded, where trust in authority led to a different kind of loss. The evening of October 25, 1994, was cool and quiet in Union, South Carolina, a small mill town of 8,000 where everyone knew each other's business. Susan Smith, a 23-year-old single mom, drove her burgundy Mazda Protege down Highway 49, her 2 boys strapped in the back. Michael, 3 years old, was in his car seat, his curly brown hair tucked under a red jacket, clutching a stuffed dinosaur. Alex, 14 months, was beside him, his chubby cheeks flushed, asleep in a blue onesie. Susan, with her short blonde hair and tired eyes, had just left her mother's house after a quick visit. She was stressed, juggling her job at Conso Products, a textile company, and a messy personal life. Recently, divorced from David Smith, she was caught in a love triangle with Tom Findlay, the wealthy son of her boss, and another man, David Brown. At 9:15 p.m., Susan pulled onto Monarch Mills Road, a dark stretch near John D. Long Lake, a murky reservoir surrounded by pine trees. She stopped at a boat ramp, the car's headlights cutting through the fog. Unbuckling her seatbelt, she stepped out, leaving the boys asleep, and released the parking brake. The Mazda rolled down the ramp, plunging into the lake's black water, sinking 18 feet with Michael and Alex trapped inside. Susan ran to a nearby house, banging on the door of Rick and Shirley McLeod at 9:23 p.m. "A black man carjacked me," she screamed, tears streaming down her face. "He took my car with my boys." Shirley, a nurse, wrapped her in a blanket as Rick called 911. Union County Sheriff's deputies arrived, and Susan, shaking, told Deputy Earl Wells a man in a knit cap had jumped into her car at a red light on Monarch Avenue, forced her to drive to the lake, then pushed her out and sped off with Michael and Alex. Her story spread fast, hitting local news by 10 p.m. The community rallied, volunteers combing the woods, divers searching the lake's edges. Susan and David, estranged but united in grief, appeared on CNN and Good Morning America, pleading for their boys' return. "Please, bring my babies back," Susan sobbed, clutching a photo of Michael and Alex smiling at a park. The nation watched, horrified, as flyers with the boys' faces, Michael's toothy grin, Alex's big eyes, plastered Union's diners and gas stations. Sheriff Howard Wells, a gruff veteran, wasn't convinced. Susan's story had hope. She claimed the carjacking happened at a busy intersection, but no one saw a man approach her car. The light at Monarch and Rice Avenues was green only at night, not red, as she'd said. On October 26th, divers found nothing in the lake, but Susan's calm demeanor during interviews raised red flag. "She's too composed," Deputy Laura Slaughter told Wells, noting Susan's neat makeup despite hours of grief. Wells, suspecting a lie, leaned on Susan during a second interview on October 27th. "Tell me where they really are," he said. Susan stuck to her story, describing the carjacker's dark hoodie and deep voice. Meanwhile, FBI agent Lewis McCarty analyzed her statement, spotting inconsistencies. She said she drove for 10 minutes, but the lake was 3 minutes from the intersection. A polygraph on October 29 showed deception when asked, "Do you know where your children are?" Susan, rattled, refused a second test. The town buzzed with fear. Susan's carjacking claim, blaming a black man, sparked racial tension. Some residents eyed black neighbors warily, though Union's black community, led by Pastor James Rice, urged calm at a church vigil. "We're all hurting," he told the state newspaper. By October 30th, police had interviewed 50 witnesses. No one saw a carjacker. Susan's ex-husband, David, told police she'd been distant, obsessed with Tom Findlay, who'd sent her a letter on October 17 ending their flame. The letter, found in her purse, said Tom wasn't ready for kids, calling Michael and Alex responsibilities Susan couldn't shake. She was heartbroken, David told Dateline, admitting their 1991 marriage fell apart over his drinking and her affairs. Susan, desperate to win Tom back, saw her boys as obstacles, a chilling motive forming in her mind. On November 1st, Sheriff Wells brought Susan to the station again. "We know you weren't carjacked," he said, showing her a map of the lake, just 200 yards from the McLeod's house she ran to. "Why'd you go there?" Susan broke, sobbing. "I let the car roll into the lake." "They're gone," Her confession, scribbled on a yellow legal pad, stunned deputies. She said she drove to the ramp, intending to end her own life with the boys, but got out at the last second, watching the car sink. I didn't want to live anymore, she wrote, citing Tom's rejection and her divorce. She'd planned it for days, even visiting a lake on October 22 to test the ramp's slope. The Mazda was found November 2nd, 60 feet from shore, the boys' bodies still strapped in. Michael's dinosaur toy floating nearby. Divers wept, pulling the car up, water pouring from its doors. Susan was arrested for 2 counts of murder on November 3, 1994, her mugshot showing hollow eyes. Union reeled. Neighbors who'd hugged her at vigils felt betrayed. She lied to us all. Shirley MacLeod told the Charlotte Observer. The trial, starting July 10, 1995, in Union County Courthouse, drew national attention. Prosecutor Tommy Pope painted Susan as a selfish mother who killed to chase a man. He showed the jury photos of the boys' car seats, soaked and muddy, and played Susan's confession tape, her voice flat. I thought they'd be better off with God. The lake's depth, he said, meant the boys took 3 minutes to drown. Trapped as water filled the car. Susan's defense, led by Judy Clark, argued she was suicidal, not malicious, suffering from depression and childhood trauma. Her father, Harry Vaughn, killed himself when she was 6, and her stepfather molested her as a teen. Clark called psychiatrist Seymour Halley, who said Susan's guilt drove her to a psychotic break. But jurors, hearing Tom's letter, saw cold calculation. The trial lasted 12 calculation. Susan testified, crying, "I didn't mean to hurt them. I love my boys," but her 911 call claiming a carjacker and her TV pleas, full of lies, turned the jury against her. On July 22, 1995, they convicted her of 2 counts of murder after 4 hours. At sentencing, David, clutching Michael's dinosaur, begged for life without parole, saying, "She needs to live with this every day." Judge William Howard agreed, sentencing her to life with a chance for parole, calling her act unfathomable. Susan, in a blue dress, collapsed, whispering, "I'm sorry." She was sent to Leith Correctional Institution, where she remains, eligible for parole in November 2024. In prison, she's been disciplined twice for sexual misconduct with guards. Details emerging in a 2000 Post and Courier report. Union never forgot. Unique, once a fishing spot, became a grim landmark. Sam and Joyce Knott, unrelated to another case, built a memorial for Michael and Alex near the ramp, 2 granite stones with their names etched, surrounded by flowers. David moved to Greer, remarried, and named his daughter Hannah after his lost sons. "I see them in her smile," he told People in 2000. Susan's mother, Linda Russell, stood by her, insisting she was sick. Not evil, but the town shunned her family. Racial wounds lingered. Susan's false claim fueled mistrust, though community leaders held healing forums. By 2025, the memorial stones are weathered, but locals still leave teddy bears. Susan, now 53, writes letters to her mom, expressing regret but no public statement. Her parole hearing looms, with prosecutors vowing to fight her release, per Fox Carolina. The case, a stark lesson in lies and loss, still haunts Union's quiet streets. In another state, a mother's desperation took a different deadly turn, driven by fear rather than rejection. The night of May 3, 2007 was warm in Praia da Luz, a quiet resort town on Portugal's Algarve coast. The McCann family, Kate, Gary, and their 3 kids, Madeline, 3, and 2-year-old twins, Sean and Emily, were on their last night of a week-long vacation. Their ground floor apartment, 5EA, at the Ocean Club Resort, was cozy, with white walls and a sliding glass door to a small patio. Madeline, a lively girl with big green eyes and blonde hair, was tucked into bed in a pink pajama set, her favorite cuddle cat toy beside her. The twins slept in travel cots nearby. At 8:30 p.m., Kate and Jerry, both doctors from Leicester, England, joined friends at the Tapas restaurant, 180 feet away across a pool. They left the patio door unlocked for easy checks, a routine they'd followed all week. Every 30 minutes, one of the group checked the kids. At 9 p.m., Jerry found all 3 asleep, Madeleine's blanket slightly askew. He fixed it and returned to dinner. At 10 p.m., Kate went to check. She pushed open the bedroom door, saw the twins breathing softly, but Madeleine's bed was empty, cuddle cat on the pillow. The window was open, the shutter raised, a breeze moving the curtains. "She's gone," Kate screamed, running back to the restaurant, her face pale. Jerry and their friends, Jane Tanner, Matthew Oldfield, and others, rushed to 5EA. The resort erupted in chaos as staff and guests searched the grounds, calling Madeline's name. By 10:15 p.m., the local police, Policia Judiciaria, arrived, followed by sniffer dogs. Jane Tanner told officers she'd seen a man carrying a child in pajamas near 5EA at 9:15 p.m., heading toward the beach. The man, she said, wore a dark jacket and light pants, the child limp in his arm. Kate and Jerry, frantic, gave police photos of Madeleine, her missing poster listing her height, 3 feet 7 inches, and a distinctive fleck in her right eye. By midnight, the story hit Sky News, sparking a global frenzy. Portuguese police focused on the McCanns early on. Kate's calm demeanor during a 10:30 p.m. call to her friend, Amanda Cox, raised suspicions. She sounded too controlled, an officer noted. A dog later detected blood traces in 5EA in a rental car the McCanns used weeks later, leading police to name Kate and Gary as suspects in September 2007. The media pounced, the Sun calling them cold parents. But forensic tests were inconclusive, and the couple was cleared in July 2008. Meanwhile, sightings of Madeleine poured in: Spain, Morocco, Brazil, but none panned out. The case stalled until 2020, when German police named Christian Bruckner, a 43-year-old drifter, as their prime suspect. Bruckner, born in 1976 in Würzburg, Germany, was a tall, blond man with a history of burglaries and sex crimes. He lived in the Algarve from 1995 to 2007, working odd jobs and stealing from holiday homes. His yellow and white Westphalia van was spotted near Praia da Luz in May 2007. Bruckner was already in a German prison, serving 7 years for raping a 72-year-old American woman in Praia da Luz in 2005. German prosecutor Hans Christian Wolters, in a 2020 Sky News interview, said they had concrete evidence Madeleine was dead, though he wouldn't share it. Phone records placed Bruckner near 5EA on May 3, 2007, during a 30-minute call at 7:30 p.m. A former cellmate, Laurentiu Coden, told CBS News in 2024 that Bruckner confessed to abducting a child in Portugal for money, saying he took her in his car and fled when police arrived. "He asked me if DNA stays on bones underground," Coden said. Another friend, Helga Bushing, claimed Bruckner, said Madeleine didn't scream. In 2023, German police searched a reservoir near Praia da Luz, finding clothes fragments and bones, but tests showed they weren't Madeleine's, per The Independent. Bruckner's notebooks, seized in 2016, detailed violent fantasies, but no direct link to Madeleine. The McCanns, devastated, kept hope alive. Kate, clutching Cuddle Cat, told BBC in 2017, "I believe she's out there." They funded private searches through donations, raising £2 million by 2010. Their twins, now 20, grew up under scrutiny, rarely speaking publicly. In May 2023, Kate and Jerry posted on findmadeline.com, "We're living in limbo, but we won't give up." Bruckner, named a suspect by Portuguese police in April 2022, denied involvement. His lawyer, Friedrich Fulcher, told Reuters the case was weak, built on unreliable witnesses. In October 2024, Bruckner was acquitted of unrelated rape and abuse charges in Braunschweig, Germany, due to insufficient evidence, per CBS News. Judge Uta Engelmann said Media Bias, from the McCann case tainted witnesses, noting even Bruckner deserves a fair trial. He remains in prison until September 2025 for the 2005 rape, with prosecutors appealing the acquittal. The investigation dragged on. A 2024 hard drive found in an abandoned German factory hinted at Madeleine's fate, but no solid proof emerged, per the Jerusalem Post. Walters told Sky News in January 2025 there was no prospect of charges soon, lacking Madeleine's body or hard evidence. The McCanns faced criticism. Some blamed their decision to leave the kids alone, others their wealth and media savvy. The Guardian reported in 2020 that Operation Grange, the UK's investigation, cost £13 million with no results. Praia da Luz, once a sleepy resort, became a grim tourist spot, with locals avoiding 5EHA. Kate and Jerry, now in their 50s, attend annual vigils, lighting candles for Madeleine, who'd be 22 in 2025. The case, unsolved after 18 years, haunts them, a mystery with no end. As one tale fades, another killer waits in the shadows. The night of February 2nd, 1978, was cold and foggy in Sacramento, California. In the quiet suburb of Rancho Cordova, Brian Maggiore, 21st, and his wife Katie, 20, were walking their dog, Thumper, along La Gloria Drive around 9 p.m. Or on 9 p.m. The young couple, married just a year, had moved to the area for Brian's Air Force job at Mather Air Force Base. Katie, with her long blonde hair, wore a red coat, and Brian, in a denim jacket, held the leash. The street was dark, lined with single-story homes and neatly trimmed lawns. A man in a dark ski mask watched from the shadows of a neighbor's yard, his breath steady, a stolen .38 revolver in his gloved hand. He'd been stalking the area for weeks, breaking into homes, studying routines. The Maggiores, unaware, turned a corner. The man stepped out, his flashlight blinding them. "Stop," he hissed, voice low. Brian pushed Katie behind him, shouting, "Get back!" The man fired twice, hitting Brian in the chest and Katie in the head. They collapsed, blood pooling on the sidewalk. Thumper barked, running off as the killer fled through a backyard, jumping a fence. A neighbor, hearing shots, called 911 at 9:12 p.m. Sacramento County Sheriff's deputies arrived within minutes, finding the Majors dead, Thumper cowering nearby. The scene was chaotic. Neighbors in robes, flashlights, sweeping the street. Detective Larry Crompton, assigned to the case, noted no robbery motive. Brian's wallet and Katie's purse were untouched. Sketches based on a witness's description. A slim man, 5'10", in a dark jacket, went out, but leads fizzled. The killings matched a pattern of a killer known as the East Area Rapist, a predator terrorizing Sacramento since 1976. By 1978, he'd attacked 30 homes, targeting women alone or couples, always at night. He'd break in, tie victims with shoelaces, and leave after hours of torment, stealing small items, rings, coins, photos. Crompton, studying case files, linked the Major's murder to East Area Rapists' escalating violence. A footprint, size 9, with a waffle sole, matched others found at rape scenes left by military-style boots. The East Area Rapists' reign spread fear. From 1976 to 1979, he hit Sacramento, Stockton, Modesto, and Davis, attacking 50 victims. His method was meticulous. He'd scout neighborhoods, peering through windows, noting dog barks or car schedule. Homes were often near open fields or canals, easy escape routes. He'd enter through sliding doors, sometimes unlocked, sometimes pried open with a screwdriver. Victims described a man in a ski mask, gloved, whispering threats, his voice raspy. "Don't move or I'll kill you," he'd say, stacking dishes on men's backs to hear if they shifted. He'd leave ligatures, torn towels, cords, scattered like calling cards. In Concord, October 1978, a woman woke to a knife at her throat, her husband tied in the next room. "I've been watching you," he whispered, staying 3 hours. Police found a pry mark on her doorframe and a stolen locket in her yard. By 1979, the East Area Rapist moved south to Contra Costa County, hitting Walnut Creek and Fremont. His attacks grew bolder. In Danville, December 1978, a couple heard footsteps before he burst in, tying them with phone cords. "I say it." He ransacked drawers, taking a silver dollar and a photo of their daughter. Police set up task forces, but he dodged traps. A 1977 stakeout in Citrus Heights failed when he slipped through a park, leaving a stolen bike. Community meetings drew hundreds, women buying guns, men installing deadbolts. The Sacramento Bee ran sketches describing him as 25-35, athletic, with light brown hair. A survivor, Jane Carson, told 60 Minutes in 1980, "He knew my name, where I worked. It was like he lived in my house." Bloodhounds tracked his scent to dead ends, alleys, creeks, or fences he'd scaled. In 1980, the East Area Rapist vanished from Northern California, but murders in Southern California linked to him emerged. In Goleta, October 1979, a couple escaped when the man's flashlight died, but he returned in 1981, killing Dr. A.A. killing Dr. Robert Offerman and Deborah Manning in their condo. Both were shot, bound with twine, the woman's ring missing. The FBI later dubbed him the original Night Stalker, on, for these murders, connecting them to East Area rapists through DNA in 2001. From 1980 to 1986, he killed 10 more in Ventura, Laguna Niguel, and Irvine, targeting couples in bed. Victims were bludgeoned or shot, always bound, homes near freeways for quick escapes. In Irvine, 1986, Janelle Cruz, 18, was found dead, her skull crushed, a stolen necklace gone. Her sister, Michelle, told Cold Case Files in 2002, he took her life and our peace. The case went cold for decades. DNA tech advanced, but no matches until 2018. Sacramento cold case detective Paul Holes used DeedMatch, a public genealogy site, uploading crime scene DNA. It traced to a distant cousin, narrowing to Joseph James DeDangelo, a 72-year-old former cop living in Citrus Heights, 10 miles from the first attacks. DeDangelo, born 1945, had been an Auburn police officer from 1973 to 1976, fired for shoplifting dog repellent and a hammer. In 1978, he lived in Rancho Cordova, working as a mechanic. His DNA, from a discarded tissue in his trash, matched semen from a 1977 rape and the 1980 murders. On April 24, 2018, SWAT arrested him outside his beige ranch house. "I have a roast in the oven," he said calmly, handcuffed. DeDangelo's past unraveled. He'd served in Vietnam, studied criminal justice, and was engaged in 1973 to Bonnie Caldwell, who dumped him. Survivors recalled him muttering Bonnie during attacks. He'd stalked victims for years, breaking in to move photos or leave ropes, terrorizing them before striking. His Navy training explained his knots. Diamond hitches, tight and precise. Neighbors in Citrus Heights knew him as a loner, cursing loudly, his lawn overgrown. His wife, Sharon Huddle, a divorce attorney, lived separately by 1991, raising their 3 daughters. A 2018 Los Angeles Times profile quoted a co-worker saying DeDangelo was quiet but angry, often ranting about small slights. The trial, delayed by COVID, began June 2020 in Sacramento County Superior Court. DeDangelo, frail in an orange jumpsuit, pleaded guilty to 13 murders, 13 kidnappings, and 50 rapes to avoid the death penalty. Prosecutor Amy Holliday read victim statements. "You stole my childhood," said a 1976 survivor. Families of the dead, like Keith Harrington's brother, spoke of lost futures. On August 21, 2020, Judge Michael Bowman sentenced DeDangelo to 11 life terms without parole, calling him the embodiment of evil. DeDangelo, voice weak, said, "I'm sorry for the pain I caused." He's now at North Current State Prison, 79, health failing. Sacramento healed slowly. Memorials for victims like the Majores placed at parks. The case, solved by DNA, changed policing with GEDmatch now restricted. Survivors, like Jane Carson, told CBS News in 2021, "I can sleep now, but I'll never forget. As one tale fades, another killer waits in the shadows."